Hello there, welcome to one of my very first video blogs, the title of which is Fertility Foods. Now, the reason that I decided to do a video blog on fertility foods is because fairly recently I wrote an article for Harper's Bazaar which was all about fertility foods and what to eat if you're trying to conceive. Now, in doing the research for this, I found so many untruths and so many myths out there on the internet and superfoods that people were selling without any evidence to back them up. So I wanted to do an evidence-based video blog, an evidence-based article on what foods you really can eat if you're trying to conceive. First and foremost, what you need to be doing is trying to eat a variety and a healthy, balanced diet, which basically means eating plenty of foods from all of the food groups and making sure that you've got plenty of variety in your diet. Aside from that though, there is some scientific evidence which suggests that there are some foods and there are some nutrients which might be important in helping us to conceive. So I'm going to go through some of these now and just list some of the examples of foods that you could choose to eat if you're wanting to try and have a baby. So first off is the idea of different fats. Now, research has shown that monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats may have a beneficial impact on fertility. Now, these include things like nuts and seeds, as well as fish and avocados, olive oil, and it's a good idea to have a go at swapping those in the place of less healthy fats such as transsaturated and saturated fat. Where we tend to find those fats are in things like cakes, biscuits, as well as lots of fried foods. The other thing that research seems to show is very important is the idea of high fibre, low glycemic index carbohydrates for boosting fertility levels. Now, these include things like oats, as well as whole grain cereals, as well as whole grain rice and wholemeal bread and wholemeal pastas. But it also includes things like fruits and vegetables, which we know contain plenty of fibre and we know have a very beneficial impact on other aspects of our health. So swapping these whole grain foods and whole grain varieties of foods for refined white rice, white pasta, and even foods that are sugary and sweet is a really good idea if you're trying to improve your fertility levels. Something that was very interesting as well that came out from the research was around plant-based protein and how actually trying to consume plant-based protein in place of meat-based proteins could actually have a beneficial effect on conceiving. Now, this doesn't mean completely cutting out meat from the diet, but what it does mean is you could have a go at swapping some of those proteins. So when we talk about plant-based proteins, we mean things like nuts and seeds, but we also mean foods like butter beans, like chickpeas and kidney beans. So for example, when you're making your spaghetti bolognese next, you could use half the mince and try adding in half of the other quantity of kidney beans. So swapping for plant-based proteins may be positive and may be beneficial if you're trying to conceive too. The other thing that I briefly mentioned earlier was the idea of fruits and vegetables. Now, we all know the message of 5 a day, but actually fruits and vegetables may be beneficial in helping us to conceive too. So fruits and vegetables like these that I've got in front of me here, it doesn't have to be very expensive fruits and vegetables. It doesn't even have to be very huge amounts. Remember that one portion of fruits and vegetables is roughly what you can fit into the palm of your hand. So it's really about trying to include fruits and vegetables throughout the day, at breakfast, at lunch, dinner, maybe some as snacks, and you're well on your way to 5 a day. So if you're trying to improve your fertility, if you're trying to conceive, it's a good idea to make sure you're trying to get your 5 a day every day. So the other thing I want to talk about a little bit is alcohol. Now, although it's absolutely fine to have a few glasses of alcohol here and there when you are trying to conceive, it's a good idea to keep this to a minimum. And that's because the recommendations are for us to avoid alcohol, especially during the first 3 months of pregnancy. So if you are trying to get pregnant, it can be a little bit difficult for us to know straight away when we are. So it's a good idea to keep your intake of alcohol to a minimum. Last but not least is supplements. Now, although it's best to try and get most of your food from your diet, there are some nutrients that we need a little bit of a boost of, especially during pregnancy, and it can help to have these beforehand. So for example, it is recommended that people who are trying to conceive take 400 micrograms of folic acid every day, and it can be useful for us to also take vitamin D. So around about 10 micrograms of vitamin D, 400 micrograms of folic acid in the months that you are trying to get pregnant, and then you can carry on taking them when you are pregnant throughout. So I hope it's been useful to you. Just a quick summary of those foods that we should be trying to consume if we're trying to get pregnant. I'll put the link to the Harper's Bazaar article below so you can have a go at reading that and finding more information, and please do contact me with any questions. Thank you.